Get off my lawn. Don't turn around in my driveway. And don't drive slow if you're in the left lane. Scooby-Doo-bop-bop-a-deep-a-doop-bop-bop. Surrounded by brilliance.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Surrounded by Brilliance podcast. I'm your host, all things awesome, Josh Will. If you listen to the podcast, if you watch the podcast, if you don't, and this is your first time, I'm going to just share with you what you're in for, right? The Surrounded by Brilliance podcast was created to bring together like-minded people who don't get offended by much and who are annoyed by most things. It's a podcast where humor, levity, and some serious discussion will give you a glimpse into the inner working of my brain, a self-proclaimed get-off-my-lawn guy. You'll hear some funny stories, some interesting opinions, a hell of a lot of grumpiness, and a whole lot more from some really interesting people and probably some not-so-interesting people, which is a great transition to our guest. Today, it's Kyle Christman. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kyle Christman. Kyle was born and raised in Fort Wayne, Indiana. He's a 1999 graduate of Bishop Dwenger High School. He was a two-time all-conference football player for old B-Dub. Bishop Dwenger, 2003 graduate of the greatest university in the land, Tri-State University, that is. He was a all-conference player. He had various all-conference accolades at Tri-State. I believe he was second team in 2001, and then he was first team in 2002. And he's also honorable mention All-American in 2002. Here on the Surrounded by Brilliance podcast, we have rock stars, we've got champions, we've got All-Americans. So for the last 20 years, Kyle has worked in a variety of roles at Steel Dynamics, which is one of the largest domestic steel producers and metal recyclers in North America. Kyle resides in Angola, Indiana, and there's a common theme also here. He's been married to his wife, Jackie, who is way out of his league. Most of my guests, their spouses are way out of their league. Kyle he falls in line with the rest of them. They've been married for 21 years. They have two wonderful daughters, Allison and Brooke, and I believe Allison, if I remember, is also she attends Trine University, aka Tri-State. So that's our guest today, Kyle Christman. How are you doing, my friend?
Real good, Josh. Thanks for having me. You nailed that intro like a split hog, buddy.
But I was practicing it before we got on here because there's a certain level of professionalism that you have to have on a ridiculous podcast like this. So I get it. Yeah. So what's up? What's new with you? I mean, this is the first time you and I have talked in a hell of a long time.
Yeah, long time, man. I was trying to figure it out today, and I don't know, 20-something years at least.
Probably yeah.
I guess maybe like Brent Niekamp wedding.
Maybe. Honestly, some of that stuff, I don't even remember some of that. It's bad. It's bad. So they'll be like, yeah, you remember that? I'm like, I don't. And I don't know if I'm just getting older or if it's because it was, before they started caring about guys leading with their helmets. So I don't know. But it's been a minute. So, I mean, we heard in your bio, you and Jackie have been married over 20 years. You got two kids. So you're busy with kids, busy with the family. I mean, your kids are getting to the age where you're not far from being empty nesters.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting close. Like I said, Allison, or like you said, Allison is at Trine. She's a junior at Trine. She also cheerleads like her mother.
Oh.
My youngest daughter is a senior in high school, and we're kind of doing she's also a cheerleader. So we go to the football games every Friday night. But recently we've been doing the whole college visit thing. Trying to figure out where she's going to go next year.
Does she not want to? Is she interested in trying it all, or does she want to not go there because her sister does?
Well, I think it's just a little too close to home. She wants to spread her wings a little bit, be out from under Dad's thumb. So we'll see how it goes.
I've got to ask. So are you the soft and sweet dad, or do you rule with an iron fist? I've got an idea, but I want you to give your own analysis of yourself.
I'm soft and sweet to them, but like as you can guess, if they bring boys around, it gets a little rougher around the edges. But I think that's how you need to be with daughters.
Agreed. You soft around the edges with them, but then when the boys come over, make sure you. I'm sure you're wearing those really tight cut off jean shorts with the cut off t-shirt. Maybe you got your gun holstered, drinking a Bud Light or something like that.
Yep,
Does that sound about
yep.
right?
You nailed it, man. You nailed it.
Oh, well, we've kind of alluded to some of it, but most of the people that listen to this podcast probably don't always put two and two together. So, Kyle, how do we know each other?
Like you say, it goes way back, man. I was trying to, we met each other on the gridiron playing football. TSU freshman
That's
year.
right. Yeah, we came in the same class that fall of '99 at
Yep.
Tri-State, like with 80 plus guys, and then senior year rolled around and there was like 20 of us.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, that's how we know each other. If you're listening at home, this is another Tri-Stater. He's a baller. So this has been a great tool. This all started out with me just being grumpy, which it hasn't changed. I'm still grumpy, but it's turned into a lot of reconnecting with guys like yourself I haven't talked to in a while. So it's really been great. So why would you agree to be on a podcast so ridiculous like this, Kyle?
Well, you hit the nail on the head there, Josh. Like, first off, it's just to reconnect. Like you said, it's been 20 plus years, man. I think some of your other guests have alluded to this. Where does the time go, man? It just seems like yesterday we were just, you know, you go through this journey. You go through this journey, especially being a football player, and we come in and, like you said, we go through hell together for 4 years, and we build these bonds, and then, you graduate, and life hits. You get married, you start a family, you got a job, you got to pay back that college tuition, and you get busy, and you just lose track. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a sad thing. I wish that didn't happen, but it does. But that's one of the main reasons I decided to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm kind of an introvert. I'm not big on the social media scene. I like to keep to myself. But you know, I think I got your number and I text you, and it's just you're making me think, man. You're reinvigorating these mental juices in my head. Like, everybody that you have on says something else, and then it's like, man, I remember that. I remember that play. I remember what happened that game, and it's just really brought back. It's really brought back a lot of great memories for me, and it's made me laugh. It's made me laugh.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story.
Do it.
So, just a normal bedtime routine, sitting in bed, scrolling, watching some YouTube. Jackie's there, we're just winding down. It's kind of our, just our bedtime thing. We watch a little YouTube, scroll a little bit, and then go to bed. Well, I was watching the podcast with Coach Nemeth,
Okay.
right? And you did your impression for Coach Nemeth. And I started laughing so hard. It was one of those. Jackie said, what are you laughing about? That's so funny. And it
I
was
was
great, man.
I was hesitant to do it because I wasn't sure how he'd take it, right? And he's like, "Oh no." And I asked him before we went on air. I'm like, "Hey, if you're okay with it, I've got kind of like some imitations of you." And then I kind of eased into it. But yeah, it was fun. So, and speaking of Coach Nemeth, he just got his first win as head coach down there.
Good.
So
Good for you.
shout out to you, Coach.
Yeah, I knew what you were doing. I knew where you're going with it. I'm just like a little kid, and it just makes me laugh. And sometimes, I don't have my ring. I thought about getting the ring. I'm like, maybe I'll bring the ring down.
Yeah.
I thought about that beforehand. It's like, what would
I
Josh
thought
want me to do?
I
Should I
thought
put
I
on my
thought about it too, but I was like, I'm like, I actually said, you know what, maybe I'll wear it to the game on Saturday. But I'm like, I don't know, I necessarily want to be that guy. Like you show up there in your ring and your Letterman jacket, and you're like, yeah, back in '98, man, '99, we kicked ass.
I tell you what, you wear yours and I'll wear mine. All right?
I'll think about it. I'll probably end up losing if I do
Yeah,
that. So,
yeah,
but all right.
yeah.
So
So
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, it just made me laugh. It just makes me laugh. For everybody, Vanover, Hensel, Niekamp, they tell funny stories, and it just makes me laugh and takes me back, and it's a really good thing, man. I like listening to it, and I'm glad you got a good thing going here.
Yeah, it's again, it's been a lot of fun, and it didn't start out as like, hey, I'm going to use this as a tool to reconnect with tri-state guys, but it's turned into that, and there's other people that's helped me reconnect with, but the point of it all, right, is that a lot of us from back then at tri-state, to your point earlier, a lot of us, it's like you go through hell and back for 4 years. I mean, and and there's a lot of people who listen to this who probably don't really understand college athletics from a player side, especially 20 years ago. I can't speak to it in this time frame, but back then you showed up, and I know this isn't the right phrase to use. Like we were at their beck and call. They told us what to do, where to do it. What you were, you, you were kind of like under this regime of, hey, you're going to be here, you're here, you're here. Your schedule's built for you. So you're doing it with all these guys, and then you're like, all right, you got to connect, right? So I think they're a little softer these days, right? I don't think they have 2 or 3 a days in the 98-degree weather, but anyways, it's been great, and it started out with a grumpiness, and we always keep the grumpiness on here, which is why I'm going to ask you. Before I ask you to share your situation, I want you to just tell me when you hear the phrase "get off my lawn," what does the phrase in and of itself mean to you?
Oh, the the phrase, it makes me think of just the Clint Eastwood movie. That's
Yep.
that's what it makes me think of.
Gran
So
Torino.
yeah, Gran Torino, exactly. That's all it makes me think of when he's telling the kids to get off his lawn. So yeah, it's just the old grumpy guy getting upset at the new young punks and tell him to get off his yard.
You're not the first person to use that analogy, and that's kind of where it came from for me. Because you know so my wife and I have been together now 7 years, and I started compiling this list like 7 years ago, where you're out in public or you see something on TV, and you just turn your head and you're like, what you just say to yourself, why are you so stupid? Why are you doing that? Like everything just makes you grumpy, right? Because maybe you're not the smartest guy in the room, but you probably are the guy in the room that has the most common sense, which means everything else that everyone does annoys the hell out of you. So I started this list, right? And that's where we talk about the get off my lawn situation. So I know that we talked before we got on here, and you said that you've got a get off my lawn situation. So Kyle, what's your get off my lawn scenario?
This just happened to me the other day, just
Okay.
very recently.
All right.
And you're familiar with Trine, you're familiar with the mound, you're familiar with the roundabout right there, right?
Yep.
We were going
Absolutely.
through that roundabout, and there was a person in front of me that just stopped in the middle. So they didn't go left, didn't go right, acted like they were going to go in the median, and then stopped. And that person actually put their car in reverse. So I'm on my brakes, and then there's a pile up coming behind me, and it obviously leads to a little questioning what what are you doing?
Yeah.
But they figured it out. The whole purpose of the roundabout is if you can't make up your mind, just go around again. So
Yeah.
it was it was one of those things, but it all worked out, and I think I actually had my 17-year-old daughter with me, so
Okay.
it was a pretty good teachable moment. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, hey, don't ever do that. Don't do that. If you do, you're going to get seriously hurt, or a semi is going to run over you. So if you can't make up your mind, just go one way or the other and figure it out later.
Well, because we don't, the goal on this is to talk about the things that annoy us, because most of these things annoy everyone, but not everyone has the chutzpah or the balls or whatever to say it out loud. But we encourage it on this podcast. But we also we want people to know that we can be positive, and if you have another positive to it, you can mention it. But I think you just mentioned a great positive. It's a teaching moment for you and your daughter to be like, hey, don't be like that idiot. Just pick a lane, stay in it, don't stop, right? But so I'm regurgitating your answer, but do you have a different version of positivity for that scenario, or is that did you just roll it all into one?
Uh, I just roll it all into one, but going back to it, you know, my wife is definitely the calmer one of of our relationship, as you can probably imagine. So that's what's great about Jackie, is because she's constantly teaching me to, calm down, take it easy, everything doesn't have to be this rush, everything doesn't have to be, you know something that's going to make you mad. She's really the voice of reason for me. So she's able to calm me down. She's taught me that, and that just, try to teach that to my daughters also. You know what I mean? It's not life or death. I mean, to quote Coach Carlson, and I use this quote a lot, is it's never as good as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems. Somewhere in the middle is where reality lies. I use that one a lot. So
Okay.
that's kind of what we're trying to do, and not get as pissed off in my older age.
I, it sounds like Jackie and my wife Tony are very similar, because Tony would be like, "Why do you let that get to you?" But I always come back and say, I didn't let it get to me. I have a right to say that it annoyed me, and it did, because that was stupid, and it's going to go on my list. But obviously, so that's why we get on here and we talk about these get off my lawn things, and most of the people that listen to this know that. I mean, there's a lot of truth to what we're saying, but we're talking about it in a humorous, satirical way, because, I mean, I get on here every week and I share these things that annoy me. If I really let them sit and just annoy me as much as I say they do, I probably would have had a heart attack by now. So obviously I don't, but it's just kind of the reality of pointing out, hey, I know this annoys you and you and you and you. You can say it. It's all right to say it and talk about it. But the question I have is about this: when you're in this roundabout, and Coach Carlson also, his get off my lawn was about roundabouts also.
All right.
But my question is, were there any four-letter words used in that situation? You don't have to say what they were, but were there any?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There were some. There were some. But like I said, I'm quick to retract it a little bit now in my older age. That's that's what Jackie teaches me, is life is it's perspective, right? It's
Yeah.
easy it's easy to get mad. It's easy to be negative. It's easy to be brought down by other people, but you kind of gotta do your best. You gotta be a glass half full kind of guy, and see the positive in everything. So that's um, that's what she teaches me. So it's great.
All right. I like it. I like it. So I'm going to share my get off my lawn scenario. I always try to not have any repeats from stuff I've said before. So this one is we used to, where we live now, it's not really a neighborhood. We live at the end of a road, a dead end road. But we used to live in a neighborhood where people had golf carts, and there was a golf course like on the far side of the neighborhood, and people had golf, which ironically though, you couldn't actually take your golf cart onto that golf course, but people had golf carts. So they'd be driving around the neighborhood. And look, I don't care if you have a golf cart, as long as you're not being stupid with it, right? But what annoys me is when parents would just let their kids take the golf cart, flying around, not paying attention, and just being stupid. I mean, we almost witnessed at our old house multiple accidents. And then fast forward, so I'm going to tell a story, and this will reiterate why this is a get off my lawn for me. It's really just a matter of be responsible with it, have fun with it, and be responsible. Don't be stupid. We had at our old house we had cameras, and I work from home. My office is in the basement, and I'm down there working, and all of a sudden I get an alert, and it's like 2 o'clock. It's in the middle of summer. It's like 2 o'clock, and I get an alert, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I pull up the video, and it's these teenage girls and some young teenage boy on this golf cart, and they're just flying and they're swerving into our yard. My sprinklers were going off at the time, right? So they thought it'd be cool to like, hey, let's go get wet, right? So they're swerving over the sprinkler head, and they're flying. They're going pretty fast, and they came this far from hitting my mailbox. And just watching on the video, you're like, holy shit, that could have been really bad, right? So fast forward, there's an app called Nextdoor, and so like you could put it in your neighborhood, and people would, it's kind of like a Facebook for your neighborhood, like, oh, garage sale, or hey, I saw this. Did anyone else see this? Blah, blah, blah. So people always go on there and complain about golf carts. And I'm like, guess what? I'm going to complain, but I'm going to show the video. Actually, what I'm going to do is just put the video on there and say, hey, whoever's children these are, could you let them know that it's not okay and it's not it's kind of irresponsible to be doing this? They're very lucky they didn't get hurt. And I knew this would happen. And all these other people in the neighborhood just start going, those GD kids, we got to stop this. Like they just start all these negative comments. And I'm like, all right, this is going to suss out the parents. And about 10 minutes later, I get an email or a message on that app from, hey, Josh, it's so-and-so. I don't remember who it was. That was my daughter driving the cart. I'm so sorry that happened. And I'm going to take care of it. Could you take down the video? Because we're really getting a lot of negativity. I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I took it down. But the moral of the story is I don't care. Do what you want with the golf cart, but just parents that are just like, yeah, go do whatever, and they don't monitor their kids driving these golf carts, because that could have been really, really bad. So the positive in this is that no one got hurt in that situation, I guess, would be the positive. But the overall positive of just being grumpy about this would be that it's a learning tool to I'm not that guy that's saying you can't do it, in my opinion. I'm just saying don't be stupid, which is very applicable to almost anything in life. Just don't be stupid. Have fun, but don't be stupid. In the immortal words of Josh Will. So that's my get off my lawn.
Yep, that's a pretty good one. It's easy. It's very easy on those side-by-sides. It's very easy on those golf carts, One wrong move and it's going over.
Yeah. I mean, it was just watching it. I was like, oh shit. I mean, I was also like, I was also like, but you better be glad that you didn't tear my sprinkler head up. But also, yeah, I'm glad that you didn't hit the mailbox going 25.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So that's the get off my lawn segment. Now we're gonna loosen it up. I've got some questions that are gonna prompt some conversation. We're gonna have some fun with it. We're gonna see how good of a memory you have from back in the day, maybe. So some of these questions I ask everyone, and you're a first-time guest, so I'm gonna ask you a couple of them that I typically ask. So, first question, Kyle. What's a fun fact about you that most people wouldn't know?
Fun fact about me most people wouldn't know. Recently, here's one. Recently, within probably the last 5 years, I've kind of picked up the hobby of collecting wristwatches.
Okay.
So, I like to go to some pawn shops every once in a while, look around, look for the older ones, look for the automatic ones, but kind of gotten into the hobby of collecting watches. Nothing crazy, no Rolexes or anything like that yet, but maybe one day. But that's a pretty fun hobby. I enjoy theirs. you can get into these watches, and there's it's just like any other hobby. There's little intricacies on every one of these watches that make them worth more or make them worth less, or it's kind of a fun hobby, and that's kind of what I've picked up and what I've been doing with some spare time the last 5 or so years.
I love it because I'm a watch guy. I would say I've when I say watch guy, I have a couple different smart watches that I have and like, and I have some also just some mechanical ones. But there's other ones that I'm like, boy, I'd really like that one, but it's way out of my price range type of stuff. But it is I could see how you get into it because it's just kind of cool. I mean, aside from the aesthetics of it, and you start learning how, you know, like some of these watches, they become way more accurate the more you wear them, and the different mechanisms. But that's interesting. I would have never guessed that about you. So that is truly a fun fact. Are you wearing one of these watches right now?
No, no, not wearing one right now. I should have put one on. I should have put one
Jeez.
on.
So
Like I said,
what's your favorite watch that you have right now?
one that I have right now that I really like is a Seiko. It's called a Seiko SKX 007. So it's a dive watch. I prefer the dive watches. They're kind of, um, robust, kind of manual, more manly, more robust. So you can kind of beat on them a little bit. But that Seiko SKX is kind of a good it's kind of a good entry level watch into people who are trying to get into the automatic wristwatch scene, like you said. Nobody. I mean, that's where it's at for a lot of these collectors. None of the nothing that takes a battery, right? So all the older Swiss movements that are mechanical, that you either have to wind or they wind themselves. That's kind of what I look for. But that Seiko makes some really nice entry level mechanical watches.
Huh. Yeah, I've got. I'll offline. I'll share a couple of the watches I have with you. Maybe we can talk. We'll talk some watch shop, and you can educate me on it
Yeah,
some more. So,
yeah.
all right, Kyle. I always ask this one to first timers. If we could rewind to when you're 20 years old, and I said you had to give up your looks or your sense of humor for the rest of your life, which one would you choose to give up and why?
I've never, I've never been accused of being pretty, Josh. Um, so, so I'm gonna take the little sense of humor that I got and keep that. I'm gonna give up the looks. I'm gonna give up the looks.
I think that's not only a humble choice, but it's to me it's the right choice because I say this, I repeat it a lot, but father time is undefeated when it comes to looks. Doesn't matter what you do, he's gonna take them. I think he got a better shot at hanging on that sense of humor longer. So although Coach Carlson did pick his looks over his sense of humor
All
after
right.
he said he said when I was 20 I was very vain, Josh. I would have picked my looks, and I said, well, I appreciate you for being vulnerable and letting us know you were vain back then, Coach.
Gotcha.
But good choice, Kyle. You 45?
Yep. 45 in a couple of days here.
Well,
Couple
happy
days.
early birthday. Hopefully on the
Thank you.
first.
Thank you.
By the time this podcast comes out, you will be probably at least a week or two into your 45th year. So, um, what's one thing that 45-year-old Kyle would go back and tell his 22-year-old self?
Uh, well, yeah, the Bitcoin. I think you brought that up. Buy some Bitcoin. I think
Okay.
that's what everybody says.
Okay. I think, look,
No, no, no.
Bitcoin's a solid choice, but
Seriously,
is that your,
seriously though, serious. I would tell my 20-year-old self is just, you know, don't don't take things so seriously. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, you said it perfectly. We come in, we get recruited. We come in. We've got a schedule. You got to be at this place at this time. You got to be here. You got to do everything. And it starts. The details come down to a tease. But you know what I mean. You got to take time to smell the roses. And I wish I would have done that a little more. That's what I would tell 20-year-old self.
Well, good news is you got a hell of a lot more time left, Kyle, so you can continue to practice that, okay? So see how I just spun that? You're like, I wish I'd have done that more. Well, guess what? You'll still have plenty of time to do it. So, all right, this next question is going to be, I mean, if you can even get one, I will. I think it'll be great. But if you could go, so specifically on the football field, if you could go back to our college days, and change the outcome of three specific plays, even if you can only get one. Three specific plays in your college career. What would those plays be, and how would you change it? I thought of this question right before I got on here. I'm like, oh, this would kind of be cool because it's going to really force him to think, and I think it'd be interesting to see what your answer would be to see if you can think back to specific plays. Actually,
That's a tough question, man.
I
That's a
yeah,
good question. That's a good question, Josh. And I've looked back. Like I said, you know, it's so hard now because none of our records or none of that stuff is there online. It's just so old. I don't think they kept track of
right.
like the old TSU records and stuff like that. Sure, some of them are there, but not all of them. But lucky for me, my mom, um, shout out to mom. Her hobby is scrapbooking. Her favorite hobby is scrapbooking. So all through high school, all through college, mom kept clippings, newspaper clippings of the games. She kept every one of the programs, some of the old flyers that we would get at the end of the year with records on it. So and that's what's great about this podcast is you start asking about specific plays, and I'm like, shoot, I don't remember that, and I'm able to go back and look at some of those articles and be like, dang, we had a shot we had a shot at that game. But specific plays, in the St. Francis game, I mean, I think everybody's talked about that St. Francis game being one of the best. And that St. Francis game won. That was on my birthday. You talked about your interceptions. I had an interception too. And in typical TSU linebacker fashion, instead of me, I caught the ball, and instead of running, making a cutback and going towards the end zone, I went straight for the quarterback. Because I could see in his eyes that he wasn't happy that he just got picked off, and he was going to try to make a play. So it was me or him, and I went right towards him and put a good one on him. But fortunately, it didn't matter. Fortunately, we won anyway.
Yeah. I,
That's one.
Yeah. I'm glad that you could even think of one. If you can think of more, because I was like, in my head, I'm like, I don't think I could think of, I know I couldn't think of three. Maybe I can pull off one. So you got another one, or should we, are we going to leave it that one there,
Mhm.
or what?
That's a that's a good one. I don't remember specific plays that much. I remember the interception that Lee Schultz had, and I remember making a couple good blocks, and then I needed some oxygen, but we didn't have it back then because
We
I don't
did.
know I don't know how long that was, but I made a couple of blocks, and I remember landing in the end zone, and everybody else was getting up celebrating. I'm like, just give me a minute. I'm just gonna need a minute. That was a good one.
That's like, I talked about this on this podcast before. We played a night game at Tiffin, and they scored on us, but then they went for two, and like I picked off the 2 point conversion attempt and ran it back all the way, and it wasn't just a straight shot. I mean, I was zigzagging, and I you know I got to the end zone, and then you guys all came and you fell on top of me, and I'm down there going. And then all of a sudden I hear someone say, "Oh shit, there's a flag," and I'm like, I get up, and they're like, I came off the sidelines, and I don't know who said it, but someone's like, Pro, Prosman was like 30 yards behind the ball, and he just he blasted a guy in the back. Dan came up to me. He's like, and Dan's not one to really be nice all the time, right? And he came up to me, he goes, "Hey man, I'm really sorry. I was stupid."
Yep.
I was like, "That's
Yep.
okay," but I'm like, "But I don't want to talk because I can't breathe." But All right, so you
You
got
know, you know, I wish, I wish, I wish I knew how many times that happened because I don't know how many interceptions I had. I ran one back for a touchdown too that also got called back. But it seemed like every INT that we had, somebody, not naming names, I mean, but somebody would go after quarterback every time. And it always, a lot of penalties like that. I wish I knew how many there were.
well. I mean, think of all the penalties we had back then. Think about. I mean, you could multiply those penalties probably by. You could double those penalties now if we were playing with just the way the rules have changed. So we got
For
after it.
sure.
We got
For
after it.
sure. We wouldn't even be able to play a game. I mean, we would like you're 100% right. Half of us would have been kicked out of the game by the first half. That's all there was to it.
Yeah.
And I think you talked about it like getting getting hit by Danny on the sidelines. It's like, yeah, you had to, if you're standing around a pile, you better be watching out because there's usually somebody coming to get in there.
Yeah, he got pissed at me because the dude ran out of bounds. He was clearly out of bounds, and he got pissed at me because I didn't hit the guy out of bounds. And he's like, "Why didn't you hit that guy?" I was like, "Dan, he's 5 yards out of bounds." He's like, "I don't care. You should have hit him." I was like, "Okay, my bad. Let's get back in the huddle and play." But that's just it's interesting because you look back on it now, and um, when you're getting ready to play a game, you got to be in the right mindset, and you got to. And Coach Nemeth would always talk about it. You got to flip the switch, right? But there really is a lot to be said about that because back then it was easier to do because you would take the week and you'd work up to it. Like we'd put all this prep in, and then you'd get to Saturday morning, and then Coach Nemeth would be, he'd turn his hat backwards and give us some kind of motivational speech. But we'd be fired up, and we were young kids with just testosterone blasting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you look back on it, and you're kind of like, it was easy to do back then, but once you flip that switch, some of those guys, it was almost like for 4 quarters, they just blacked out in the sense of they were just there, they knew what they were going to do, and they just wanted to hurt people. And then the game was over, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, I'm back." they're like, you know what I mean? They're like,
What happened? Yeah. Where am I?
it's like Will
Yeah. I mean,
Ferrell in
yeah.
Old School when he's answering
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
questions. He's like, "What?"
Yeah. He gives a speech. Yeah.
He's like,
What
"What?"
just happened? Where am I? Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. That's a great point. And controlled chaos. That's what we always talked about. Controlled chaos. And you know, I, you know, I love Coach Nemeth's speeches. You know what I mean? Um, it's one thing. I think about it a lot. Like you said, unless you're an athlete, unless you've been part of a team like that, you don't remember stuff. But for you and I and everybody who was part of that, there's no forgetting it. And it's still. I go to the games today, and I still get goosebumps every in a while because I think about a speech. I think about the I got mine, you want one, and he would give us those speeches, and like you said, we would we'd go run through a brick wall, and it was great, and I loved it. I hope Coach Nemeth, I hope you're out there. I hope you're still doing it because it got me motivated. And
Yeah.
and like you said, you don't there's some things that you think about. I'm going to watch the games. Like I said, my daughter's a cheerleader, but it might be goofy or stupid to somebody else, but when they play Thunderstruck, you
Oh,
know what I mean,
you get the tingles,
and you
man.
remember running out there. Sometimes I still get goosebumps, like
Yeah.
and it's a good thing.
Yeah. So my wife, she's not like she knows of football, but she's not like big into it. So, but every game day. So last year I went to a couple of away games. Brandon and I went to Trine's Bluffton game at Bluffton because Brandon doesn't live far from there, and then Brandon and his girlfriend came up here and we went to the Kalamazoo Trine game. I was like, all right, first song we play when we get there, and we just played on repeat, Thunderstruck. And my wife's like, "What are we doing?" And I'm like, "Brandon, tell her." And she's like, if you don't know, you will know. And now she gets it, right? So, but that song, it brings back. I mean, it brings back memories, and it's just good stuff. It's good times, and 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 to we talked about it, but you recall things that you've kind of forgotten about, or they've went to the back of your mind, like, oh, that did happen. Now I remember it, and boy, that was hilarious. So, or that was a good time, or that was, um, like that picture that we took at Fawcett Stadium, although it's not called Fawcett anymore. After the game, our senior year, uh, you sent that to me, and I sent it to Neat Camp because he was talking about it too. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going through, and I was like, oh, I'm like, well, that guy's. I'm like that guy must have stayed for a fifth year because he was in the year before us. But I'm looking at it, and then I noticed Hensel wasn't in it. So I sent him a text. I'm like, Hensel, why aren't you in this photo? And he's like, what the hell? Why am I not in that? I'm like, I don't know, man, but you're not. So, but it's just good stuff. It's good times. And my wife actually said, she goes, I didn't even know this part of you because I don't know any of these guys, and you don't really talk about any of this stuff. She's like, so I really enjoy listening to the podcast, especially like Tri-State when I'm interviewing Tri-State guys. So, anyways, I'm talking too much here because I got more
No,
questions for you.
no, it's great. I mean, like you talked about, I enjoy listening to it too because it's everybody's experience is different, and it's
Yeah,
good to see. It's good to see, what went through their eyes. It's like you say,
absolutely.
people don't understand it. The football being there, whether it's the right decision or not. I remember going to the spring game and watching the spring game, and it was Wes Novak, Isaac Sturgis, and John Whirling playing linebacker, and they were just dominating. And I was like, well, maybe I made a bad decision. I doubt, I don't think I'm ever going to get a play behind these guys because they
Right.
were tearing it up.
Yeah.
And and then you go through and like you say, you go through that year and you're just trying to get good grades. You're trying to make the cut. You're trying to make the practice squad. You're trying to do all these things. You know what I mean? And it's a grind. And then you finally make the team or make the starting squad and get to play. And, then that brings a whole new set of challenges, right? To stay at the top. So it's great to listen to everybody's story. And, that's one of the reasons that I tune in and agree to be on, man.
Awesome. No, I appreciate it. And so these next questions, we're going to get a little silly here. And I've talked about NIL, right? How name, image, and likeness is out there now. And I don't know if it was Steck or someone, but I asked about, if we did it back then, who might get paid, blah, blah, blah. So I changed it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some examples of possible NIL deals for players when we were at TSU, and these are all going to be fun.
All right.
But I think they're all applicable. And I need you to tell me after I've said all of them which one was probably the most likely to have occurred, or maybe there's multiple ones. So the first one I came up with was Jordan Geely gets an NIL deal with Gillette razors because he's just a hairy man, and I'm just picturing him, with his vest that he would wear of body hair, like doing a Gillette commercial. So that's one. John Fletcher has an NIL deal with Old Country Buffet's all you can eat buffet. I think that speaks for itself. I don't need to go into detail there. Adam Jadich has an NIL deal with Gap Clothing for Kids. I think I thought that one was funny.
Baby Gap.
Um, and then here's the last one. Al Gilski, Jesse Olinger, and Carl have an NIL deal with a compression t-shirt company that only makes tight compression t-shirts in black.
Oh, for sure. That last one's 100%, dude. That last one's the tight shirt mafia. There you go. I
I'm
think
like,
that's
oh, I'm like, this is funny, but this absolutely could have happened. Gilski would have been like, yo, dude, give us an NIL deal.
you bring it up. The person that I think would be the biggest character would be Brandon Mix. I
Okay.
can see Brandon Mix being something, an Old Spice, an Old Spice guy, or like you said, one of those, for a used car dealership or something.
Oh, yeah. Like, well, yeah, I said that about Geely on the other one. Like, I could see him being like rolling up in like a. It's not a brand new like Escalade. It's like an 8-year old
Oh yeah,
Escalade with two
oh
hundred
yeah.
thousand miles on it and scratches, and he rolls up. It's like, hey, come on down to Geely Auto. We'll take care of you. All right, I got one more question for you. And then I've been asking pretty much all the TSUers this. You know, put together your, and I'm being selfish here because I played defense, you played defense. Actually, I think all the people I've had on here have just been defensive guys. I think I can't remember. Yeah. Put together like just start naming some like if you were to put together like a dream team defense from the 4 years that we were there. Just start naming some names and positions and I like this exercise because it's fun to just remember and talk about some of these guys, and you can include yourself. So
Man, man, like we don't have enough time. I mean, like I said, do you remember going there? The monsters that were there when we got there our first year. On you remember, like Bill Krasinski?
yeah,
You remember Jeff Dolson? You
those
remember
guys
those
were
guys?
men. They were men.
Yeah, yeah. Those guys on D line, like you said, you know, I'm I'm partial because of the linebackers. We had some of the best linebackers in the league, bar none. John
Absolutely.
Whirling, Isaac, and then we had
Yourself. I'll
and then
say
we
it.
and then we had Brent and we had Andy Slagle and we had Vanover and those guys could have filled in, the whole thing. Dave Anstead, Wes Novak, you know what I mean? Some of those guys, I don't know, they had to be all conference, but if I'm putting together a dream team, let me start from the line.
Okay.
Danny,
Yeah.
Danny Protzman for sure, 100%. Jordan Geely, Lou Willoughby for sure,
Lou.
who'd be another end. Eric Hensel, like I said, all those guys in the linebacking core. I mean, yeah, the linebackers, and I think about the linebackers all the time. I think about, sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I can't move my neck, and it's like, oh gosh, did we have to have such a good group of linebackers that got after it so much?
Yeah.
Because you know how it was. We'd
Yeah.
beat the hell out of each other in practice, and
You were borderline crazy, and
that wasn't.
those are the guys you want playing linebacker. So it worked out.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good thing. It's catching up now, but yeah, you for sure. Chuck Schulte, 100%. Um, Jason Hart,
Heart.
Mookie, Otto Schregel, Eric Eby. I mean, we had we had some good defenses, man. And, and I didn't think about it that much, but I started, like I said, going back through some of that stuff. Listen, I caught bits and pieces of Coach Carlson's, but that 2000 defense, 01, I mean, all of them were good. We were so close.
Yeah.
We were so close. I think 2000, you know, there was a couple, our last two games where we got beat by a touchdown. If we win those, we're going to the playoffs. Obviously our junior year, we won that. That was great. I wish one game I wish we could have back is that Walsh game. I would have loved to have won that outright. And I
Yeah.
can't remember what happened, but I know we had like three turnovers. I mean, or we caused three
Lost three
turnovers.
turnovers.
So, it's hard to remember what happened. And then our senior year, same thing. A couple of those teams that we played
Yeah.
were ranked, and then we won out, and we unfortunately, I mean, didn't win out, but we got beat by St. Francis. But if that game could have been a little bit closer, we would have been in the playoffs then. We had some good defensive guys.
We did.
What about
It was
you? Who's
fun.
on your
I mean,
defensive
you
side?
look. You said it, man. I mean, you get Protzman, Willoughby, Geely, Hensel. I mean, quite honestly, we probably should have figured out how to run like a 3-4 defense because we had so many freaking good athletic linebackers. That way, we could have more of those guys on the field. But and I'm being partial. Like I could say Novak and Whirling and those guys because they were great, but Whirling, Novak, you, Sturgis, Anstead. I mean, when you think about Dave Anstead, Brent Niekamp, Nick Vanover, Andy Slagle, those four guys right there could go to any other NAIA school and would probably start for at least 3 years. But they didn't. Didn't always get the reps because we were just stacked. I mean, we were stacked. It was. It's a testament to the school and the fact that whoever, like, I don't know who the linebacker recruiting coordinator would have been, but Jason Hart. Look, I mean, I played behind him for 2 years.
Dude,
Slowest DB you'll ever meet, but that dude knew every angle of every play.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Granted, he was also like 6'7" or 6'6" with the wingspan of a 7-footer, but and he never lied about it too. He's like, look, I'm not fast. But he knew his reads and he knew, I got to take this angle to get there. And I learned a lot from him playing behind him for 2 years. And quite honestly, I wasn't ready to start probably until my junior year because, to your point, when I remember when I got there as a freshman, I'm like, I got to go through tackling drills with Jason Hart, Otto Schregel, and it wasn't a cocky thing, but you learn real quick coming from small school football in Ohio to an NAIA school with some of these dudes that are just big and they've got 2 or 3 years of college behind them. And you're like, oh shit. Like, I got to put on some weight and do some work. But Steck, Keith, those guys.
Yeah, the whole Steck Schulte thing, I immediately laughed. When Coach Nemeth said that because I knew, I haven't talked to Jason. I think the last time I talked to Jason was like 2016 when they had an all quarter century team and invited some of us back. When they opened the new weight room and stadium on that side. But I knew as soon as Coach Nemeth said something about it being slow that he would be on the podcast, and he came back in full force. But you know what I mean? There's some of those guys. There are some of those guys that could have played at MAC schools. Danny could have played at a MAC school. Steck Schulte could have played at a MAC school. Geely could have played at a MAC school. Sturgis, there's a lot of them that could have played in bigger arenas. And like you say, for me too, I think you talked about this on one of the earlier podcasts, and I can't remember who it was, but it's all speed, right? It's all physical speed and it's all mental processing speed.
Oh, yeah.
And fortunately for me, I felt like I was athletic enough where if I made a mistake mentally, I could recoup it with my speed or my physical ability. And it wasn't, to your point, it wasn't until, Wes Novak became the linebacker coach and he just really laid it out there for you. He goes, if this guy's doing this, this is going to happen. And he was one of the best. And he was a great coach and he was a great teacher. And I think, like you said, that's a testament to a lot of these guys that are coaches now. They were smart players. Geely was a smart player. Steck Schulte, he would bait them. You know what I mean? He would give them a couple plays so they think they were getting a step on him, and then he'd just take it away from them easily. So a lot of these guys were smart players, and like you said, a couple of them probably should have been playing at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that, like just some of those guys, and even the coaches. Like I asked Carlson about it, I asked him if he thought because we had some really good coaches, right? And if you thought maybe some of those coaches maybe didn't get opportunities that they should have gotten because you're coaching at a small school, and he elaborated on it. It was pretty interesting. He's like, well, it comes down to what you want with you and your family. And he had said, it sounds like what he had said was he had gotten offers to go coach at MAC schools as linebackers coach or some tight ends coach or something like that. But it didn't make sense for him. And when I interviewed Coach Nemeth and I asked him if there's one thing he could go back and change, do you remember what he said? He goes, I'd go back and tell myself, take the Grand Valley job.
Gotcha. Yep.
And
It's
if he would have
yeah.
taken that Grand Valley job, he may have ended up at Notre Dame on that staff, because the head coach at Grand Valley, I believe, went from there to Notre Dame as the D coordinator. So I mean, and I'm making some assumptions that he's probably, that maybe because he didn't say that he's probably like, oh man, if I'd have taken that job, maybe I could have been here and da 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 da. But
Yeah.
it, you
You're
know,
right. You're right. And I talked, and Jordan and I are still pretty good friends. Coach Geely at Fresno State, and you don't understand what these coaches are going through until you talk to somebody like that. How they bounce around,
yeah,
and how you say you gotta play that chess game. You gotta go with this guy, and hopefully you win, and then go to the next place. And Jordan's been really good about that. And Jordan's won, hell, I don't know, 3, 4 bowl games, I
yeah,
think, when he was at Northern Illinois. But it kind of goes, it goes back to that. You talked about Nemeth and Coach Carlson. And I mean, just think about building these squads. I mean, what a testament for Coach Carlson, because building the squads, making them winning teams right out of the gate. Hell, I don't think we had a losing season when we were there. And then,
we did
and
it.
then, like you say, things got, it's, you know, here's one thing that I think about, and I think you asked Coach Nemeth this, or you talked about it a little bit with him, and I felt the same way. We go through 01, we win the conference, everybody's coming back, and then Coach Nemeth leaves, right? And it's like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, and 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 there's nothing wrong with that. He has to
no,
do what's best for him.
yeah,
But at the time, we're selfishly thinking, we got everybody back. If he comes back our senior year, we win again and we go on another run.
yeah,
But you don't know what any of these coaches are going through,
right,
and they got to do what's right for them and right for their family. But it
yeah,
would have been nice. It would have been interesting. No disrespect to Coach Lazuski, but it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if we would have had Coach Nemeth our senior year.
yeah. No,
Because I
yeah,
think,
I brought that up to him in a way. Well, what I did was I had said, you left, and I said, I understand I understand way more now, right? You got to do what you got to do. But as a 21 or 22-year-old kid, you're like, what the, like, oh man, like, what are you
yeah,
doing? Like,
yeah.
we want, look what we just did. Now we got a new coach coming in, and but I brought it up to him, but you're right. I mean, man, you hate to do the what ifs, but that that would have been pretty damn fun to run that one back, because you have another year of continuity and
Right.
familiarity. And again, Coach Lazuski did a great job, but he would probably even tell you, yeah, you have the same coach for 3 years, you're going to have way more success than a new coach coming in, because it's not just the coaching too. It's the camaraderie and the like, the mental and emotional continuity you have with the coach. You know what to expect. He knows how to push you and get you ready in a way, because he's been there. So yeah, you hate to do the what ifs, but boy, that would have been pretty damn fun. So, but I will tell you
That's
this:
that's a that's a big what if, though. I mean, it would
it's a
have been a
big
good
what
one,
if.
but
Steck Schulte's been, Hensel and Steck and I have been texting, and Steck seems to think that eventually the NCAA is just going to give everyone 5 years. And I said, if that happens, maybe we all need to go back for that one last year and, and just run it back. Look at this defense of 45
yeah,
year old men.
yeah, yeah. I got one series in me, Josh. I got one series,
I
and
told
don't have
Steck,
me blitz.
I said,
I
I
got
don't have
one
any of it
series
in me.
in
I'm
me.
like, look, I already have concerns about, like, memory. The last thing I want to do is go out there and take more hits to the head. So,
Yeah,
but
that's a good question. That's a good question for the pod. Is who's hit you the hardest?
Steck answered that one. Remember, he said it was Sturgis, Who's hit me the hardest? Sturgis in a practice. Who's hit me the hardest? I'll tell you what. There was a play. I think it was against um, Who is the team from Iowa? Not St. Joe.
St. Ambrose?
St. Ambrose. They had that like stud running back who was like 5'7", but his thighs were like the size of watermelons. And I think he and I hit helmet to helmet, and it ended up being a stalemate. Like he didn't push me back, I didn't push him back. But I remember just getting up and being like, "Where in the hell am I?" But how about you? Who's hit you the hardest?
I mean, that's it. It had to be. It probably had to be Isaac. But it. Like I said, you're talking about CTE and hitting heads. I mean, that linebacking core. It's like, damn it! We should have? Why did we hit each other like that every day? None of us were backing down, and
No.
any one of them would bring the wood too.
Yeah.
Niekamp, Wood, Schlegel, man, they all hit hard. The hardest I ever got hit by that rang my bell was in practice. It was Craig Nevels. You remember Craig?
Yeah.
Craig cracked back on me one time and got me good. And I didn't. I think I took a couple plays off because I didn't know where I was at on that one. But
Where am I?
Craig cracked me good time.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how many concussions went undiagnosed back when we played.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. Clearly, a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with
Yeah.
the definition that they use of a concussion, right? It's, um, I remember. I'm pretty certain I got my first concussion in high school. I remember it because wide receiver ran a slant, and I read it, and I came in, and I did lead with my helmet. Jumped in the air, hit him, and when I hit him, I blacked out. When I hit the ground is when I woke up. But anyways, well, hey,
Yeah.
look, man.
I like Vanover's story. I vividly remember him in that Georgetown game getting hit
Yeah.
and then walking to the wrong huddle. Like I remember that one too. That made me
What are you
laugh.
doing?
That
That's
Georgetown team though too. I mean, I talk about all these what ifs, but shit, those guys were good. I think weren't they? They were like runner up in '99, national champs in 2000, 2001. They
they
were back to back
they
national
were
champs.
they were competing in the like Final Four every year at least there for a
That team
stretch. But
that team was a real deal.
yeah, man, I went. That's another one too. If we would have maybe gotten a better seed and not
Right.
faced them in the first
Right.
round, yeah, who
Yep.
knows? But I mean, again, you
Yeah.
can't what if it. But what
It's fun to think about.
the whole point of it is that now we're older and we can reflect more on it because I understand it more now, right? And so do you.
Right.
To where it's like,
Right.
boy, because we understand it's truly a game of. We understood it back then, but now, I mean, life is a game of inches. But football in and of
Right.
itself, you're like, God,
Right.
that play there, this right here, and you're just like, we had, and you look at the talent we had because you appreciate it more now than then. And you're like, damn, we were. I mean, yeah, we weren't a Division One team, but we were god dang, we were a damn good NAIA or even Division Two team. Like we could play. We had some really good athletes and some really good coaches, and but
I
again,
agree.
here we are. So look, man, we gotta finish this up. We're running up against it. I appreciate your time. This has been great catching up. My goal is that this isn't. We don't wait another 5, 10 years to do this. That I'm expecting regular, at minimum, text messages from you, and then catching up more at TSU games or even Angola's only. Steck and I have talked about this too because he has a place in Angola or on Snow Lake or whatever. I don't know. But
Okay.
I'm only hour and 15 from there. I live northeast of Kalamazoo, so I mean not far. I know you're a big fisherman.
Yep.
I live
Yep.
small private lake that has some really good bass fishing and actually some decent pike if you're into pike.
Yeah.
So
to get in on that pheasant hunting too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that offline, but hey, we can talk about it here. I love it. I know that I get some shit from some people because we go to preserves, but I mean, I've tried to go on public land up here, and it turns into a shit show, and you're out there for 6 hours and you don't even see anything. And I understand that that's hunting, right? But there's a place up here that the birds are they act very wild. Like they don't sit tight. I mean, you'll get 25 yards out, they hear something or they feel the dog coming, they're gone. So yeah, I'll definitely we'll stay. I plan on going a few more times yet this year, so I'll keep you in mind if you're down for it. So look, appreciate you being on the pod. I'm gonna see you in a couple days, anyways. Hopefully at the game, but maybe you'll be back on the pod again. Maybe we'll get a linebacker. We'll get you and Vanover and Hensel on here, and maybe even Steck, because we can have multiple people. See how that goes.
There you go.
But I appreciate you, man. This was great, and thanks for partaking.
Yep. Thanks for having me, man.
Yep. Thanks, Kyle. Take it easy.
Yep.
Get off my lawn. Don't turn around in my driveway. And don't drive slow if you're in the left lane. Scooby-Doo-bop-bop-a-deep-a-doop-bop-bop. Surrounded by brilliance.